Guys, mute yourself. Okay, better.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for coming to this Hilula Sakoidish of Nosson from Breslov, of Nosson of Hertz. I'm going to be Makasha myself with him right now. Whoever says he should always be Makasha to all the tzaddikim. First and foremost, I want to thank Rabbi Yaman Phillips for hosting such a beautiful occasion. I don't think that Breslov internationally ever had such a nice event for Reb Nosson's Yahrzeit. So thank you so much. The Rebbe says in Torah Ayin that the tzaddik, I think he says the Lashon Yochid Ba'olam, but I'm not sure. Maybe Rabbi Kramer can fact check me.
That's not too
If you give tzedakah to that tzaddik, that's this Yochid Shaba'olam, that caliber tzaddik, like Reb Nachman and his Talmidim Reb Nosson, it comes back kifla keflayim. So I wish you, Reb Yaman, you should get back kifla keflayim, and you should see immediate results for hosting such a beautiful event, such a beautiful Suda in honor of Reb Nosson. I would also like to recognize the Miyaste of Breslov, New Hempstead, Buddy Lichter, and my older brother, Mati Zeitlin. So, Rabbi Yaman has had an open heart and generosity and everything since COVID to host the shul, but for years and years, Buddy Lichter hosted the shul in his house, and he sponsored all Kadeshim and all that stuff, all the hard work. And my brother Mati, his partner, who invested a tremendous amount of sweat equity, and the Gabbai Neman of Breslov, New Hempstead. So I want to wish them both a lot of atzlocha and bracha, and it's good to have a tzaddik like the tzaddik Yisod Olam owe you a favor. So thank you, Buddy, thank you, Mati, so much for all that you do for this community. Thank you. I also want to welcome our guest speakers, amazing guest speakers, Reb Kramer, who was so happy to have him here in good health. Baruch Hashem, he's been through an ordeal, and if he wants, he'll speak about it. But Baruch Hashem, we have him here with us in good health, and soon we're going to be zeicha to hear him speak some beautiful words, and as well as Rabbi Jonathan Rietti, world famous speaker, and we've had the merit of having him on our Sichas Chaverim chat to inspire us, and he's here with us in person. It makes a big difference for it to be in person versus online. So thank you both so much for being here. I want to also recognize all the Mispalalim of Breslov, New Hempstead. You know, it's like a young fledgling, Mr. Wurzberger, and from Jordan, everybody here, everybody, each one separately, individually, thank you so much for being Mechazik Breslov, New Hempstead. I got out of it a tremendous amount. It inspired me. It brought me closer. You know, it satiates some of my yearnings. It satisfies me. So thank you so much. And we should all be zeicha to grow this shul and to bring more kavod to the Rebbe. So one of the results of Breslov, New Hempstead is that in Breslov, New Hempstead, we launched a Sichas Chaverim chat, which is every night, for those that have time, maybe those unemployed by COVID the first few months, or those that don't have a life. So every night we get onto this chat, either to shoot the breeze, or to talk about his Vadidis, or to be inspired, or to dig into one another. The Rebbe spoke a lot about Sichas Chaverim, to be friends. One of Reb Nosson's, I think it was his parting words, one of them was that we should stay together. It's at the end of the letter, so I don't know if he said it at the end or not, but the main thing is we should always stay together, and we should be mechazek each other. That's one of the core principles of the Rebbe as well. So, just to give you a little bit of background, so my father, Reb Eliezer David Zeitlin, Reb Eliezer David ben Reb Yosef Zatzal, so he was born Ashkenaz, in an Ashkenaz background. His grandfather actually, when he got married, had a contract that he must go the Ashkenaz minhagim. And my father completely, he was searching and yearning for emes, for spirituality, for godliness, and something in him was festering his whole life, and he wanted it. He wanted to fulfill that. He wanted to feel something more. So he completely deviated from his path, which was the Ashkenaz path, and he made a complete 180, and he went to Breslov, ultimately to Breslov. And he said he found a tremendous oneness and unity in the teachings of the Rebbe. He went through many other Rebbes, and ultimately where he found his refuge was in the Rebbe. So sometimes it's always hard to change paths. It's always hard to deviate from where you are. It's always comfortable. I used to be a recruiter. They always used to say it's very hard for somebody to change from one chair to the other. They'd rather stay in a job that's, even if it's not so great, but change is very difficult. So to make such a drastic change, you have to be in a place of yearning, searching. You really want to know the emes. You want to get to a place of truth. So in the schus of my father taking that drastic step, Baruch Hashem, my whole family, all our brothers and siblings, and my brother here, Benzi from Brooklyn, and Mati and Dati, all of us, we're all connected to the Rebbe and that schus. So, just think about it, just like in the world, right? Jews are just a tiny minority. They're not even 1% of humanity. And, right, it's very hard to convince somebody to understand the Jewish religion, to take on the Jewish religion, to show them that there's truth, that it's the ultimate truth and the right path. But it's just, so most people just want to stay where they are, in their comfort place, and the only way to get there is really by searching. That's what the point I'm trying to make, is by yearning, searching, and if you yearn and search for truth, you'll get there. So, just to say a few points, and then obviously you guys are not here to listen to me, you're here to listen to our guest speakers. So, just to give a basic understanding that the tzaddik, the Rebbe, the tzaddik Yisod Olam, which we speak often about by Shal Shuddis, is an aspect of Moshe Rabbeinu. There are 4 tzaddikim that carry this specific aspect, the nitzatz of Moshe. One of them is Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, the other one is the Arizal, the next one is Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem Tov, and the last one is the tzaddik Yisod Olam, Reb Nachum ben Simcha ben Feigen. So, and Moshe is the shorish of all our souls. He is the shorish nishmas Yisrael. Now the Rebbe, which is an aspect of Moshe, is also the shorish of all our neshamas. Who in the world wouldn't want to get in touch with their root in order to rectify or take care of what they need to take care of in this world? So connecting to the Rebbe and tapping into the Rebbe gets us a direct connection. Gets us a direct connection to the root of our soul and the reason and a purpose for why we are here. And So obviously we wouldn't know anything about the Rebbe without Reb Nosson. Reb Nosson was the one that carried forth and brought the entire life of the Rebbe's teachings to life. Otherwise there would be nothing left of him. We wouldn't know about him. It would just be like a mystery. There was nobody to print the Svarim or anything like that. Reb Nosson sacrificed his whole life to bring the Rebbe's light to all of us, so that the hallmark of a tzaddik emes is to be able to help every single yid wherever they are. Every single neshama in the world should be able to get their tikkun. It's not about them. It's not about exclusivity. It's not about a name. It's purely giving over their entire life to rescue every single soul, to bring them to a place, a better place, to bring them to the rectification that they need, to ultimately bring them to the promised land. So, I had a thought that basically the Rebbe brought a certain newness in Avodas Hashem. I spoke to my Rav, Rebbe Ephraim Koenig in Tzvas, Rebbe Lozer Koenig's brother, and he told me the words that Reb Nachman said, that from me until Mashiach there will be nothing new. Is worth kol hoin de alma, because you can stop searching. Every single person. Reb Nosson repeats this in his letters, that every single person can find himself in all the eitzes of the Rebbe, no matter where they are, no matter the challenges they face, no matter the mistakes that they made, no matter the trouble that they're in. It doesn't matter where you are. If you're on the bottom, the tzaddik Yisod Olam is so high that only someone like him can go down to fetch, to go get you and fetch you and do the rectifications that you need. If you're high up, he'll steer you in the right way. So basically, that is a tzaddik emes. And the tzaddik emes brought down tools. Just like today there's technology, right? You can decide that you don't want to use technology. Maybe you want to be Amish. But the truth is ultimately, who protects the Amish? Mighty warships made with scientific technology, right? And how do they get all of the machinery and equipment? It's all sourced with technology. So what I'm trying to say is that the Rebbe gave us tools that we can use, which will ultimately bring the rectification of the world and bring on the coming of Mashiach. So we should take advantage of all the eitzes and tools that the Rebbe gave us. It's impossible to go through all of them, but he has an eitzah for everything. For the desire of money, the general desire, the ego, everything, to get you happy, to be besimcha. In every matzah that a person's in, the Rebbe gave us an eitzah, advice, and his most important advice is, you have to recognize and connect to the tzaddik emes. Reb Nosson is the epitome of that. He absolutely gave himself over and nullified every aspect of his ego for the Rebbe. The ultimate anav. Reb Nosson, we were talking the other day in the Sichas Chaverim, somebody like Reb Nosson would have been a tremendous name in Rebbistva. He wrote books, he wrote tefillas, bigger than Sefer Tehillim. Tremendous amount of tefillas. He's unrecognized. I spoke to somebody in my office today, I told him I'm going to Reb Nosson's yahrzeit. Who's Reb Nosson? He had no idea. It's interesting, we take it for granted, but Reb Nosson is what brought the Rebbe's message to life. So I want to welcome now. I want to welcome now Rabbi Jonathan Rietti, world famous speaker who has helped inspire us so much on the Sichas Chaverim, answer a lot of our questions, to say some words, l'kavod, the Hilula HaKodesh of Reb Nosson.
Pray continue eating. Special thank you to Benjamin Philipson for opening up, for extending your home into your backyard for us. You should only, you and all your family only know Simcha and Baracha in your lives. Amen. Amen. I forgot to ask you, Benjamin, which team do you support?
Jets.
No, British. You're completely assimilated to American culture. Okay.
You can ask me.
We have another Brit in the house.
Another British.
Okay.
Tottenham.
Tottenham. I like Chelsea, but Tottenham's good. Special thank you to Buddy for being the head of this beautiful growing community, bringing it about. Special thank you to my Rebbe for 44 years, Rabbi Chaim Kramer, who I owe everything to. Literally, everything. Olamasa, everything. Svi, thank you for inviting me to share with you tonight. This was Svi's idea. I guess you really must be desperate. So, if I could ask you to please turn your cell phones off, purely out of respect to those who are trying to fall asleep. So I've been asked to speak on the subject of burn me in your heart. So it sounds like something, I don't know, radiation, chemo, I'm not sure what it is. But what came to mind is really the following. It happens to be, Torah Test, Rabbeinu Zal tells us that to love Hashem b'chol levarcha b'shnei yitzarecha. It's really the last mission in Brachas. And he tells us that the Yetzer Tov, the Yetzer Hara, which is being referred to love Hashem b'chol levavka. The word lev means here thought or mind, and b'chol levavka is really plural. It's not singular. If it was singular, it would be b'chol libecha. B'chol levavka means with all your thoughts. So says Rabbeinu Zal, b'shnei yitzarecha, hayetzer hara hema machshavas ra'is. The Yetzer Hara is not some sort of, evil-looking demon with horns and a fork. What do they call that? A pitchfork. Thank you. Waiting to ruin us, even though that is true too. Hema machshavas ra'is. The Yetzer Hara is not more complicated than thoughts that are ra, that are negative. The Hayetzer Tov, Hema Machshavas Tovos. Oh, so now we've got a little bit more of a grip on what we mean by the word lev. Ramban, with a nun, quoting also the Ibn Ezra on the same pasuk, V'ahavta l'reacha v'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha, love Hashem with all your thoughts, says the Ibn Ezra, Ramban as well, Perek Vav pasuk K, we say it every single morning, every single night. Lev hu hada'as. The word lev refers to your mind. Rabbi Zal talks all the time about Ikar Teshuvah is belev. Ikar Tefillah is belev. There's a mitzvah in the Torah, uboy tidbak. Glue yourself, cleave yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ramban on that pasuk, Perek Yud pasuk Achaf in Dvarim tells us not to be Mesiach Das from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So I guess when you say burn me in your heart, it means how can I hold on to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in my mind? Rabbeinu Zal was about that all the time. So let me share with you. I think one of the most extreme statements Rabbeinu Zal said. I say extreme because it's stronger than I've seen anywhere else written. Mitzvah Gedola Liyais Besimcha. Now, if it stopped right there, I can handle it. But Besimcha Tamid, you have a huge mitzvah to be happy Tamid. Tamid has two meanings in Tanakh. It either means consistently, like the korban Tamid, it wasn't brought all the time, it was brought consistently, every morning, every late afternoon. The Lechem Hapanim was Tamid al HaShulchan, that was constantly. So it can mean either of the two. I don't know if this is correct, but I'm guessing the possibility. The Rabbeinu Zal was telling us, start with consistently, meaning that when I fall, not if, when I fall, because of my wife, because of my kids, or because of my mother-in-law, whatever is the reason that I'm having a difficult day, the default that I have to go back to is the consistent place of there's reasons to be besimcha. But I think what Rabbeinu Zal is telling us is something possibly simpler, and that's the following. There is no happiness. I repeat, there is no happiness outside of you. It's impossible. The minute my happiness depends on my wife, on my family, on my children being disciplined, cooperative, understanding, respectful, who controls my happiness as a parent? Me or my kids? If it's my boss who has to show me more appreciation, then I'll be happy in my job. Who controls my happiness in my job? See, the moment I make happiness totally badava, dependent on something, then batal adava, the moment that item is no longer there, goodbye happiness. So Rabbeinu Zal is telling us something a little bit simpler, I think. And look at Torah Yud and Torah Yud Zayin, also in Tinyana, and he tells us there that real simcha has to be something you had nothing to do with. Because once it has nothing to do with you, it can never be taken away. So I'm going to ask you an honest question. Just quick show of hands, I promise not to count you. How many of you were born? Not everybody, but most of you. Okay, good. Did God owe me that I should be born? Yes or no? How much is that worth? Everything. Now, we're going to go back a little bit earlier than that. This is actually based on Sefer Charedim. He brings it's a mitzvah to be grateful. He claims it's one of Taryag mitzvahs. And he says it's a mitzvah to count the chasadim, the kindnesses God has done for us from the day we were conceived. Ask a gynecologist, what are the chances of you being conceived on a mathematical probability? What is it, 1 in? Many millions. Do you realize you won the mega lottery 9 months before you were born? Quick show of hands, I promise not to count you. How many of you, your mother had a miscarriage with you? 0. Did God owe it that I should not have had a miscarriage with my mother? How about abortion? None of you were aborted. Do you realize we won 3 mega lotteries and we're not born yet? You're born healthy? How much is that worth? You're born a Jew? Oh, Mizera Yisrael Shelo Asani Akum? OMG! So Rabbeinu Zal starts off, thank you Hashem that you created us for your covenant. And you separated us from those who don't follow monotheism or don't have emunah in tzaddikim amitiyim. All these are items that you and I did not do anything for. And that's got to be the Ikka Simcha. Oh, you have a beautiful wardrobe. Oh, you have a beautiful home. That's bonus. Oh, you have a wonderful spouse, children. All pure bonus. Those are more reasons to add on to being happy. But nobody can make the claim that happiness really is outside of me. And the moment they do, they're living in an innocent illusion. Let me give you an example. I met about 2 years ago at a conference Dr. Tversky did from Milwaukee called Innate Health. He did it in New York. And he had there a number of fascinating speakers. And one lady there was Wendy Sugessi. And her speech lasted about 8 seconds, 10 seconds. I memorized it bal pair by heart. The rest of her 45 allotted minutes was all question and answers. Here's her speech. I'll give you her background quickly. She was in her 8th year, she's now in her 10th year, she was in her 8th year of breast cancer. That particular cancer for women in stage 4. they don't usually make it after 5 years. 96%, it's just a percentage, but that's the percentage. 96% of Nashim are no longer alive in stage 4 cancer after 5 years. She's in her 8th year. She stands up on the stage and she says the following: I have cancer. I'm not cancer. My body has cancer. I'm not my body. End of speech. She admitted she was 4 months in and out of depression. Rebbeinu Shalom Masri was, why are you doing this to me? I've got a husband, I've got 2 kids, what's going to be? And then she realized, what's worse? Poison of the body or poisonous thinking? Which is worse? And she realized, I'm destroying myself with my own thoughts. And she turned herself around in realizing that if I'm going to make my happiness dependent on my health, then I can't be happy. But if I'm going to be happy because today I'm alive, I've got a reason to be happy that is a gift from God to me. It's not my making. No wonder David HaMelech said, Zeh hayom, this day, Asa Hashem. Well, Rebbeinu Shalom, if you made this day, it's got to be good. It's got to be good. Nagila, so let us reveal, it's a lashon of simcha, but it's a lashon of gila, is revealing reasons that I wasn't aware of to be happy. Nagila v'nismachabam. Let's look at the Nekudos tables, let's search for whatever good is in today that I should be able to reveal and be happy in. Because all the reasons to be happy are already in our lives. David HaMelech cut this. Nobody suffered as much as David HaMelech. Nobody. Because I'll tell us, Eob suffered the most for a 12-month period, but David HaMelech suffered way more than Eob over a lifetime. Way more. Told us, the VM says he lost 4 sons in his lifetime. So 4 children. Other scribes say he's actually lost up to 8. David HaMelech was completely rejected by his father and brothers for 29 years. David HaMelech, his own father-in-law tried to assassinate him several times. Not only is the ruach in this room very strong, but it's even outside, it's very strong too. Comes along David HaMelech and he says the most amazing pasuk. I mean, every pasuk is amazing. Perek David pasuk Ches in Tehillim. Nasata! What's nasata? You've given. It's a lashon of atid, hoiver, or ava. For those still awake. Which one is it? Ava. Thank you. 10 points for Gryffindor. It's past tense. I'll translate myself. It's past tense. So nasata, you have gifted. It's always a lashon of gifting. Because you and I are owed 0. God owes me nothing. Comes along David HaMelech, Nasata Simcha Felipe. You've already given me happiness in my mind, in my heart. All the reasons to be happy already exist. So how does Rabbeinu Zal come along and say mitzvah gedola? So I heard from my Rebbe, Rabbi Rosenfeld, Alav Shalom. He once said, what's a Veira gedola? The one that might be Chayav Kares or Skila. So you can go through the list and figure it out yourselves. He said, imagine now, Rabbeinu Zal is telling us there's something called a mitzvah, but not stam, gedola. And he says it's to be b'simcha tamid. Now I'm going to share with you something quite interesting. In Tariag mitzvahs, at least of the Rambam, there's no such mitzvah to be b'simcha. It's not one of the Tariag. Check out Sefer Charedim, Sefer Yereim. These are Rishonim. The Smag. None of them list to be b'simcha as a mitzvah. So where does Rabbeinu Zal come saying, not only is it a mitzvah, but it's mitzvah gedola and it's tamid, it's constant, consistently and then constantly. So you hear the question at least. Why didn't any of the minor mitzvahs, none of the Rishonim, not one, lists to be b'simcha as one of Tariag? None are going to tell you it's not a mitzvah, but it's not one of 613. So I think the most simple answer, which Rabbeinu Zal is really hinting to, I believe, is really the following. A new boss employs you. and he makes the contract for a lifetime, and he gives you $1 trillion. Does he have to add in the contract, oh, by the way, could you also be Basimcha? Does that need to be added? $1 trillion? That's Meshuggah. Now, the truth is I'm exaggerating. Because it's being conceived worth less than $1 trillion, not being aborted, not having a miscarriage, being born. Zera Yisrael? Wow. Asher Bacha Banu Mikol, I mean, how much is that worth? So in Olam Hazeh, $1 trillion goes a long way. But in Olam Haba, oh, it's so much. All of these are worth so much more. You've been through what you've been through, and you came back again to Torah. You're about to Shuvah. Oh my gosh, you're a Ger Tzedek. You chose to be Jewish on your own. That's mind-boggling. These are all that you can add for reasons to be happy. But Rav Nachman is starting off. You know why it's a mitzvah gedolah liyos b'simcha tamid? Because the main reasons to be Meshunadik b'simcha are already in your life. And it's not your home, it's not your family, it's not your wife, it's not your kids, it's not your business, and it's not your career. It's none of that. It started way before. All the rest I just mentioned, home, business, career, family, that's all plus. That's all bonus. So I think one of the greatest of the many, many gifts that Rav Nachman gave us in preparation for when Mashiach comes, and I thought that was a beautiful insight, the way you described Reb Zeitlin. I have greatest respect for your father, Love Shalom. The way you explained that what Rabbeinu is saying, you don't have to look elsewhere, you don't have to search anymore. That's amazing. I've got one stop, all the answers. And this one particular advice of being happy is huge. I close. Please forgive me if you've heard this from me before. About 16 years ago, I met a gentleman by the name of Christopher Reeve. Can anyone tell me who they think I'm talking about? Okay, we've got a few people here who really got a very intense yeshiva education. So Christopher Reeve was Superman. Now, I met him about 4 years after his accident. He was a quadriplegic at the time, and he died of quadriplegic. Here's Superman, a famous actor who was an icon of incredible success in this world. And he's wheeled onto a platform, and the first words that came out of his mouth, the only part of his body that moved were his mouth and his eyes, totally paralyzed from the neck down. First words that came out of his mouth were, "I've never been more happy in my life than since my accident." Now, he's a good actor, but how did he come off saying that? And then he told us the reason why. He said, because I discovered the real me is not my body. The real me is not the tens of millions of dollars in my bank accounts. The real me is not the many homes I own. The real me is not even my wife and children. I think he's been married 2 or 3 times or whatever. But he started giving examples of the real me, which all starts over here. It was mostly about chesed, mostly about kindness that he did for other people. Mind-boggling. You see, the real us is really, what are we thinking? Rahmana Libaboy, Hashem wants our mind. Where is our mind? Chazal tell us, which one pasuk it captures the essence of Yiddishkeit. Kol gufei haTorah teluyim ba. So comes along Chazal and tells us, B'chol derachecha da'elu. In all your ways, b'chol derachecha, in all your ways, da'elu, acknowledge Hashem. V'hu, if you do that, hu yiyasher archazecha, that will straighten all your paths. Meaning, every path that I have till now that's crooked, whether it's in business, whether it's problems with a marriage, or setback in health, or setback in finances, makes no difference. What crooked path I've got, this, by recognizing Hashem, will straighten out all those paths. Comes along the Chidazal, and also the Ben Ish Chai, and offers. Look at the Rashi Tevas. Bechol derachecha. Da'ehu is the Rashi Tevas Badad. And the Sofei Tevas, the last letters of each word, Bechol Lamed. Derachecha Chaf. Da'ehu Vav. Lamed Chaf. Says the Kedah, Chavav, the famous gematria for Hashem's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei. So Badad Lashem. So says the Chidazal, the most powerful way to Da'ehu, to know Hashem in your life, talk to Him. Have this with the Rebbeinu Shalom. And this is the deeper meaning of the Chazal. Eizu Parasha Katana. If you had to select one pasuk from all of Tanakh, Shekol Gufei HaTorah Tzliyimba, that the entire Torah, the essence of Torah, hangs on this pasuk. Which one would you select? And the deeper meaning of Da'ehu is talk to Hashem. How complicated is that? That's a gift you and I already have. We have our tongue. We have our mind. You're ready to go. You're not limited to space or time or circumstance. These are just two of the many of the eitzes, which one on its own is enough to get us Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba. In the schufs of Rav Nosson, as Rav Seidlin pointed out, even if I don't quote Rav Nosson, it doesn't make a difference because Likutei Moharan was written word for word by Rav Nosson, except for the ones that he wrote as from dictation and then the ones that he collected later on. So we only have Likutei Halachos, Likutei Moharan, Likutei Tefillas, all because of Rav Nosson. So in the schus of Rav Nosson, whose Yotzad is tonight, we should all be zeicha to simcha in our lives, talk to Hashem, anytime, any place. Okay, there are a couple places you can't, but other than that, of course you can. And in the schus of that, we should all be zeicha to leave this world, Mekuruv, to the Tzadikim Amitiyim, the Tzadik Emes, Rabbeinu Zal, Amen. Amen.
I don't know. The mic, where's the mic?
I want to thank Rabbi Jonathan Rietti for such a beautiful speech. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Rabbi Rietti. So, while the food is being served, I'm just going to say some few snippets of Kitzel Lakitim Aran and maybe a little bit of Alam Latrufa. Because the Rebbe's words and Reb Nosson's words are way more valuable than my words. So, I'm just going to say a short thing, a few short things. The Rebbe says before a person comes out in the world, they teach him and they show him all that he needs to accomplish and attain in this world. And once he comes out into the era of the world, he immediately forgets it. And it gets lost from him. And he says, "V'tzorich l'ntzoyer la'atzadik levakesh achar afedosai." A person has to go to the tzaddik to find what he lost. Ki kol ha'avedos halalu shel kol b'nei ha'olam hem eitzel ha'tzadik. That everybody has an aveda. We all forgot what our mission is in this world. And the Rebbe says that the tzaddik is the one that has all these avedas. So who would not want to find their thing that they lost, their mission? That's Torah Kif Pei Ches. Can you go now to the next? K'sha'adam yoshev l'daber mechaveiroi. When a person sits to talk about his friend, mechaveiroi ze b'chinas Rosh Hashanah. That is the concept of Rosh Hashanah. Shehi yoy mededina ki yoshev v'daras chaveiroi. When a person talks about another person, anything negatively, it's like Rosh Hashanah because he is judging them. And he says you have to be very careful not to talk about another person in any negative way. But he says the only one that can do Rosh Hashanah is somebody that can be down every single person l'kaf schus. And the Rebbe, the Tzaddikim Amitiyim are the ones that can realize everybody's potential. They see the value, even if a person doesn't see value in himself. They are the ones that believe in you more than anybody else, and they will judge you favorably no matter where life has taken you. And Misha Zeichel, the Skasher, and Sharshers Nishmas Yisrael, and the Tzaddik who's able to be Mekasher to the Shorish of the Nishmas Yisrael, he Yachad Lases Rosh Hashanah. A Tzaddik like that can make Rosh Hashanah. So that's why I guess we go to the Rebbe on Rosh Hashanah because he can be us all done l'kaf schus. He can have us all vindicated. The Rebbe says that Mashiach, he's going to vindicate the entire world and bring the Mashiach by being down the entire world l'kaf schus. Hatzadik ha'emes, another snippet. The true tzaddik, he ha'pa'er va'yofi va'achein shel kol ha'olam kuloi, is the beauty, the splendor of the entire world. V'hi ha'bal habayis shel kol ha'olam kuloi. The tzaddik emes is the balabas of the entire world. You hear these lashonos? I'll say it again. V'hi ha'bal habayis shel kol ha'olam kuloi. And he's the boss. I'm just skipping. And whoever merits to be included in the splendor and the beauty of this tzaddik, and he basically opens his eyes and immediately can return to tshuva. And then I'll say one more, and then I'll go to Reb Nosson. The Rebbe says also, please enjoy your food. I'm just going to talk while you guys... The Rebbe did not say that. We have to ask Hashem a lot to merit, to come close to Tzaddikim Amitiyim. For fortunate is the one that gets close to the tzaddik when he's still alive. Ashrei loy v'ashrei chelka. And he says the Baldavar puts a person in a person's heart to confuse him, and he puts before him leaders, shal sheker. And also he says even between tzaddikim amitiyim there's confusion. The Yetzer Hara is always trying to be mevalbel. He doesn't want you to get to the source. He doesn't want you to get to the Nekuda Amitiyas. Yesh achshav harbe b'nei Yisrael. There are now many Yidden that have tremendous yearning, the kisufim, to Hashem, that was never in the early days, but they have no idea how to get close, and therefore they have to the tzaddik, and therefore they have to ask Hashem to merit to get close to the tzaddik emes. So that's from Reb Nachman. Now I'm just going to say a little bit from Reb Nosson's Alam L'Trufa. I want to tell you, about 2 years ago or less, I called Reb Nosson Naiman, Reb Chaim's brother-in-law, and I asked him, I want to learn something. What can I learn? I told him I have no patience for this, no patience for that. You know, Gemara, all that, that's hard stuff. I told him I want something that, like, you know, gives me it's interesting. It gives me energy to go on. So he says, do Alam L'Trufa. He says, Breslov Hasidim that have a Shir Kavua. So I try to do it. And I want to say that Alam L'Trufa, the letters of Reb Nosson to his son, are mamish, the most beautiful, lovely letters. I think a letter a day keeps the pain at bay. It's very good, it's very motivating, and very inspiring. So I love Reb Nosson, mamish love him. I always say that because Reb Nosson, what he's done for me personally, he's literally lifted me up mornings with anxiety, pain, stress, my matzav life. Wherever I am, I open Reb Nosson, and he like a bolt to the heart, like lightning. And it's very inspirational. And I advise everybody, if you want something light, you don't have to pay attention to every detail. Reb Nosson was very methodical, and he was a prolific writer, and he wrote down every detail. He cared about everything. And in English. They have it here in English, the Alam L'Trufa in English. So I advise everybody to get it, and I like the Hebrew version, but I'm sure it's beautiful in English, so it's here on the table, whoever wants. So I'm just going to read a snippet of a letter. So Reb Yitzchak, there are a few letters from Reb Yitzchak to his father. And in the middle of the letter he tells his father, Shaladati lo nimtza shim av ba'olam. In my mind, I cannot find a father in the world sheyikayim limadatem as b'nechem, that is mekayim limadatem as b'nechem k'moy sherimma alosei adosha, like you, your exalted holiness, mekayim be, does with me. Ki zeh ikar alimit. This is the main thing of learning, l'lamed eitzos, to learn advice and ways, idrachim, l'schazak avodas Hashem, to strengthen ourselves in the service of Hashem. Hilula and thank God for kibalti mirimay losa akdosha. I already received from your exalted holiness kama v'kama eitzos idrachim kdoshim es l'schazak avodas Hashem. I've received so much advice from you how to get close to Hashem. Eich sheyeh. I should always listen to your words, your holy words, and he goes on. But I'm going to read one letter from Reb Nosson. I just picked it out. It's not like there are so many letters that it's hard to pick out which one is people would enjoy most. Hold on. I lose my spot.
Let us know what you enjoy most.
I enjoy most.
He enjoys them all.
I really do. It's beautiful, mamish. So I'm just going to read one letter, just to give you a sample of Reb Nosson. Reb Yitzchak was always depressed or concerned or worried about his matzav in life. And he would constantly cry out to his father, Reb Nosson. And Reb Nosson would every single time reassure him, don't worry, everything's going to be good. Put yourself completely in the Rebbe's Svarim, hafaych behem, v'hafaych behem, and you'll get out of your matzav and everything's going to be good. So I'm just going to read one letter, and then, so while you guys enjoy the food. Baruch Hashem Yom Aleph Noach Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan. Ahivi b'ni chavivi, my beloved son, my dear friend, Mechtavcha kibalti b'yom vav. I received your letter on Friday. V'hine b'roig mechtavecha. In all of your letters, even though your outcry reaches the heaven, you yourself give yourself the own answer in the letter. You give yourself the true answer. Especially what you wrote in your most recent letter. You have nowhere to flee, except for setting up times to learn. Emes v'yatzav v'nochayim v'kayim v'yashar v'chulei hadavar hazeh. Ki bevadai Torah tefillah yi'ikar habeis monos v'kol ma she'over l'adam v'chol yoyim. Of course, Torah and tefillah are the main place that a person can flee, no matter what they go through every day. And as our Rebbe said, Barasi Yetzahara, Barasi Torah Tavlin. Our Rebbe said, Barasi Yetzahara, Barasi Torah Tavlin. I created the evil inclination, but I created the antidote, the Torah. If not the delight of your Torah, as a vadati ba'ani, I would be lost in my pain. Place your heart well to these words. You should know that from my inception, from my birth until this day, Reb Nosson is telling his son, there was almost never a time that I didn't go through the tremendous difficulties that you're going through. And every single time Reb Nosson tells him, and Reb Nosson at Tzadik Emes is telling him, I always think that it's almost loss of hope. There's no more hope left for me. Were it not for Hashem's help for me every day with His tremendous and wondrous ways, that He gave us through the flowing stream and the source of wisdom. Remember that there is no time in the world. Everything passes like a fleeting shadow. And this fleeting shadow, you could also be busy a bit with Torah, and a little bit with davening, and a little bit with speaking, and tza'aka, and crying out, v'shava, v'anocha, and groaning, and place your eyes to Hashem, and also a little bit of talk between friends. That's what we do. B'mila d'shmaya, in words of heaven, the b'mila d'alma, and also with general conversation. You could also busy yourself a little bit with work and parnasa, and a little bit whatever your body needs to sustain itself. Sleeping, eating, and drinking. And with these things, the day passes you by very quickly. He says, not forever is this fight going to be. He's telling his son, Rabbi Yitzchak, don't think from today till tomorrow. I wish I can implement this. I worry for next year. Forget about for next day. Let your makshavas, your thoughts, not confuse you. Not from the past and not from the future. And the hour and the day that you stand in to chalikpois, you can jump. You can escape from all that you need to escape from. The tremendous favors that Hashem does for each of us every day, and every time. I'm almost done. For all the miracles that you do with us every day and all the wonders and the goodness, like Rabbi Jonathan Rietti said, we each won a 5-time megalada. And especially that we rely, and lean al koyach that we rely in such a bal koyach, like the tzaddik, he's a chroinel of Racha Ba'atzmai Hizironi. Reb Nachman warned us, Livtoyach al koychai, to rely on his strength. Al koychai agodol ma'oid, and his tremendous strength, ha'oila al koyl, that is above everything. Yesim izai, ein penai laharach. More than this, I can't continue. I have guests in my house. Okay. Yes, okay. Chazak ve'amatz, be strengthen yourself and be courageous. V'samach nafshecha b'Rosh Hashanah over. Be joyous now that you were for the past Rosh Hashanah. V'kavashoni mekavim v'chakim liyas al Rosh Hashanah hasamich haba aleinu l'toiva, and how much we all waiting and hoping to be in Rosh Hashanah this coming year in good. I guess we're all waiting for that because most of us didn't even make it this year. V'Hashem alekim yazer v'yashir lecha. Hashem is going to help you. V'chol mashat tetzarach li'vashea, with all that you need help. Chish kal mehera, swiftly. Divrei avicha Nosson in Breslov. So this is just one letter. He has letters that all different types of motivation. I really encourage you. A letter a day keeps the pain away. Take me up on it. Okay. I would like to take this opportunity to call up Rabbi Chaim Kramer. We're so happy to have him here. And his life mission is to print the Rebbe's works. And I was just thinking, in Breslov theology, again, if you're there, you believe it, and if not, then you don't believe it. In Breslov theology, the thinking is that the Rebbe's Eitzis and Svarim are going to bring in the Mashiach. Until Mashiach, there's not going to be anything new. And Reb Nosson said, you should do anything you can to support the printing of Svarim. Reb Chaim Kramer, his whole life mission is printing Svarim. You have helped us all, whoever looks into the Rebbe's Svarim, to be able to understand the complicated language or to make sense of it. Thank you so much. We're happy to have you here in good health and looking forward to hearing your words.
Perfect.
Yeah. I know. Very strong.
I'll make it louder over there. What? Well, I'll do that. Hold on.
Shalom Aleichem. Good to see you. Sit.
This way, Shalom, or is it this way?
This way.
All of the above.
Okay. You want me to get up and hug you?
Yeah?
You want me to get up and hug you? I would appreciate it if you don't sit down on my shoulder.
All right. Listen, I'm a survivor of corona pneumonia.
Wow. Oh my
Baruch
God.
Hashem, It's behind me. And second. You say Moedim every day. 3 times a day.
Nosson writes that in the race.
Well, you have a place of Kol Shabbat. That is every record. Right.
I still
Fatigue.
whatever.
Like another day, you gotta rest. Yes. Yes, Hashem. And the Zoich.
Boys, I enjoy the food. While you enjoy the food, you'll have some amazing entertainment, I promise.
I've learned not to make promises like that because you never know what's going to come out of your mouth, right? Shalom Aleichem, everybody. First, thanks. Gemara says Rabbi Yehuda, when they would ever speak, Rabbi Yehuda posach b'chover achsanya, Gemara and Brachos. Rabbi Yehuda would open up and begin his whatever he was going to say with thanks and appreciation to the host who put himself out with all this lavish meal. I guess there's no other way to say it, right? As someone said earlier, that Nosson never had this kind of honor in his lifetime. Right? So it took a while, 176 years since he passed away, to come out with such beautiful Suda. May Hashem bless you. Ruchni, Ugashmi is Kol Yemei Chayecha, that you're so to feel the spirit of Nosson. Amen. Thanks also to the organizers, our buddy Lichter, Mati Zeitlin, and to Rabbi Rietti for the warm words that he said before, to Shmuley Zeitlin, and whatever, to all of you who came, took your time to come to hear about Reb Nosson. Which brings us to the point where who am I to be able to say anything about Reb Nosson? So he was a great man. Maybe I can close with that. Is that acceptable? Yeah, it's acceptable. What'd you pay all that money for? If not, okay. The kids, we heard earlier, Shmuley said that his father was a searcher. Reb Nosson was also a searcher. He grew up in the Litvischer home. They were besnagdim against Hasidim. Reb Nosson was a brilliant student. When he was taken as a chassan, he was taken by Reb David Tzvi Orbach, who was the chief rav of the entire area in the Ukraine, Dolia, Kamenets, and so on, many, many cities, and Molev. And he was the chief rav. He was known very much in different svarim. And he chose Reb Nosson, who was 13 at the time, to be his son-in-law. A few years later, he offered Reb Nosson a position as a rav in his city. Reb Nosson at that time did not want to be that. Reb Nosson was sitting and learning, and he was also involved in his father's business. And he would travel. They had textiles, and they had a lot of different things that they were selling. His father was quite wealthy, and he would spend his time on Torah and Tefillah. But Reb Nosson never felt comfortable I'm learning, great. I'm davening, great. But there are people who, when they learn and daven, feel everything that they're doing. How come I don't feel the davening? Any of us get up for Shacharis in the morning, right? And we put all our heart and souls into the davening. Or I have an appointment at 9 o'clock and I got to get there in time. What is it? Nosson put everything, he didn't feel anything. So he spoke over with his chavrusa, he was 16 at the time. And he speaks to his chavrusa, he says, well, there's Chasidus. Why don't you try Chasidus? And of course, his father-in-law was one of the biggest misnagdim in the generation. He used to have a daily class with his family, telling them the evils of Chasidus. His father was a Litvak against Chasidus, and here Reb Nosson had to buck the system. He had to just say, no, I don't feel anything. So he started traveling to the Hasidic Rebbes, from Motchel and Eshkes. He found Talmidim from the Rebbe Reb Zusha of Anapoli. He went to Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, who Rabbi Nachman said about him that if he wasn't sitting in Berditchev, if he sat in a smaller city, that he wouldn't be so heavy under the burden of so many people, he would have reached the Madrega of the Mizrich Magid, and maybe even the Madrega of the Baal Shem Tov. That's how great Reb Levi Yitzchak was. And Reb Nosson went to him, and there are parts of the Kedushas Levi that the Berditchever wrote that were written by Reb Nosson. And Reb Nosson was looking, but he couldn't find the comfort that he felt for his soul. In 1802, Rabbi Nachman moved to Breslov. He lived at that time on the other end of the Ukraine. At that time, he moved to Breslov, which was just 15 kilometers or 9 miles from the city of Breslov. So Reb Nosson traveled there. He went there for the Shabbos. He stayed there. It was just before Rosh Hashanah, and he heard of the importance that Rabbi Nachman placed on being by him Rosh Hashanah. So Reb Nosson ran home right after Shabbos, so he'll be able to sneak out of the house a week later for Rosh Hashanah. Okay. And then Reb Nosson stayed with Rabbi Nachman for Aseret Shemei Tshuva. And Rabbi Nachman drew him very warm. And he put his arm around him. And he told him the first advice that Reb Nosson heard. He said, it's very, very good if you learn to speak your heart out before Hashem. And that's how the Rebbe began speaking to Reb Nosson, telling him about his spoilers, telling him, talk to Hashem. Whereas a friend of mine in Los Angeles puts it, Rabbi Chaim Tauber, for those who may know him, he says, how could you ever establish a relationship with someone with whom you never speak? Right? Go establish a relationship with your wife, your mother, your children, right? Your boss, your customers. You never talk to them. You know, how are you going to have a relationship? How are you ever going to have a relationship with Hashem if you don't speak to Him? That was the beginning of Reb Nosson's chinuch in Breslov Chasidus. And he writes in the Svarim that I found somebody who could mentor me, someone who could teach me about Hashem, someone where I could feel that when I make a bracha, I made the bracha. How many of us, Daven Shmona Esrei, we forgot completely what we said, or we remembered maybe 2-3 words from what we said? Here I can make a bracha al netilas yadayim, and I can feel the pleasantness and the kedusha of that bracha. And how can I feel the davening? And how can I feel the learning? Well, whatever. I can't eulogize Reb Nosson because he's way beyond anything I could imagine. I wrote the book Through Fire and Water, biography of Reb Nosson. I did it in about 4 months, 3 months, 4 months. I had the material prepared more or less. I sat down to write it. There's a lot of material. It's a 600-page book. How did I do it in a few months? Because I couldn't leave the subject alone. I would get to the office 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I would be there till 9, 10 o'clock at night. Only when I couldn't see the screen anymore did I go home to go to sleep, to get up the next morning to write the book. The character of Reb Nosson is such that when I finished the book, I stood there and I said, "Ribono shel olam, I have to tell you, you've let me write a book about Reb Nosson." I finished the book and I have absolutely no idea who Reb Nosson was. After spending 4 months with him, I said, I have no idea who this man was. The Cherina Rav, in the introduction to the Old Betrufa, writes like this. Anyone who ever saw Reb Nosson daven would think that all he ever did was daven. He spent all his time davening, such koiches, such power, such kavanah in every tefillah, you would think that's all he ever did. But then, if you ever saw Reb Nosson learning, there was intensity in learning, you would think that's all he ever did. But then, if you ever saw Reb Nosson, the way he wrote letters, like we heard before, to all his followers, you would think that's all he ever did. If you ever saw the way Reb Nosson would sit down and speak to people, give them encouragement and avodas Hashem, you would think that's all he ever did. But he did it all. Reb Nosson once said, they asked him, how did you ever write so much? He was 22 when he became a student of Rabbi Nachman. He passed away, he was 65. He wrote the 8-volume Likutei Halachos. Aside from all the work he did by Rabbi Nachman, writing his Torahs and working on printing the Sfar, Reb Nosson built the Klois in Uman. He traveled to Eretz Yisrael. How do you write 8 volumes of a Sefer Likutei Halachos? It's all Chidush Torah. What's Likutei Halachos? He would take a lesson in Shulchan Aruch, halacha, let's say a group of halachas, let's call it Yichas HaShachar, blessings in the morning. He would take a lesson of Likutei Moharan. This is halacha, the body of Torah. This is the Likutei Moharan, the soul of Torah. And he'd weave a most beautiful tapestry of how this all comes together and how you could feel every single blessing that you make in the morning. Right? We'll give you an example. He writes about Hilchos Kriya Shema. Right? The Gemara says, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Shema Yisrael. He says, what do you need the word Shema Yisrael for? You're articulating your faith in Hashem. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. What do you need Shema Yisrael for? The answer is that Shema means really listen. Shmiya b'liba tayin, so it says. Hearing means it goes into your heart. He says, if you're not going to prepare your heart to listen to what you're saying, you'll never get that Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. If you listen, you prepare yourself, then you'll find Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. But then he goes further. He says, Shema Yisrael, the Gemara says, two pshat, Gemara and Brachos. One, is Hashmeya Lo'oznecha Masha Atal Motzi Mipicha. Let your ears hear what you're saying with your mouth. Okay? Then the Gemara says, Shema. What does that mean? B'chol Lashon She'ato Shemeya. In any language that you understand, because you can Yotze Kriya Shema if you speak English or Hebrew or French or Spanish or Swahili or whatever it may be, you could say Shema in that language. But Nosson says there are two different explanations, but it's really one. If you are going to prepare yourself to hear what you're saying when you say Shema Yisrael, then he says, anything that you hear during the day, whether it's Torah, Tefillah, whether it's mitzvahs, whether it's business, whether it's mundane matters in the house, anything that you hear, since you're prepared to recognize Hashem, then you'll be able to recognize Hashem even in the different things that you're doing. Amazing shot, huh? Right? This is just about 7-8 lines in the Likutei Halachos. But there are 8 volumes. Most have over 250 pages. And they're double-sided, double-column pages. This is what Reb Nosson does. He just flows through it. You don't know exactly where you stand. But the man is absolutely amazing. I've learned the Likutei Halachos quite a few times in my life. Baruch Hashem. I was introduced to it when I was 13, 14. But I'm learning it every day now too. There isn't a day that goes by without my reading at least something from the Likutei Halachos. And every day now, when I learn a piece, I say, Hashem, the man was the most amazing man. Every day. Now, how many times I went through it? How many pages? Every single day. The man was absolutely amazing. Let me give you a little bit longer drush. In Yeridea, Nosson takes the laws, Dvarim hayotzim min hachayim, things that come out of a living animal. Right? Are you allowed to eat it or not? Right? There's basar, there's cholov. Are you allowed to eat each one? Yes. Could you eat it together? Absolutely not. And Reb Nosson starts looking into the halacha, and he says, what does it mean to me? How do I apply what the Torah is telling to me? That I could feel it too. He says, well, you ever hear of the word a quarter pounder? Right? McDonald's advertises it. It's not kosher, but a quarter pounder, take a little hamburger. This big, right? This big. You want a quarter pound of hamburger. What do you have to do to get that quarter pounder? You have to take a 2-ton ox, slaughter it, check the lungs, clean it out, skin it, cut the meat. You have to work very hard. Then you got to get rid of the fats. Then you got to get rid of the blood. And you got to, it's raw. You can't eat it raw. You got to now cut it into pieces, and you got to slice it, and you got to take a little bit of meat and put it on the fire and burn it for a half hour, an hour, whatever it is. And then you could first eat your quarter pounder. Right? What does that tell me? That there are things in this world that I have to work very hard for. I can't just get whatever I read. I give us today our daily bread. I can't just take it and eat whatever I want. No, I got to work for it. I'm in this world. I'm an Olam Hazeh. We're all here. We all have to work hard and do things that we have to do in this world. It all goes back to the curse of Adam Harishon. And he said, imagine, and by the way, you should just understand how far that curse went. right? The Gemara in Sanhedrin lists how Hashem created Adam Marisha. Right? He gathered first hour of the day. Say the day starts at 6 a.m. Right? The first hour of the day, he collected the dust from the earth. He started forming it. He started putting in the water, the mud to form the body and make it. Bekitza, the Gemara says, it took him 9 hours till Adam Marisha stood on his feet. Imagine that. Adam Marisha took 9 hours till he stood on his feet. The Gemara says, in the 10th hour, he ate from the Eitz Hadas. He didn't last 1 hour. Right? All right. We know the Balaturim brings over there, you know, that why did you eat from the Eitz Hadas? He, Nosson li min ha'etz v'oichel. She gave me from the tree. And I know, she gave him the fruit. No, she gave him from the tree. Why? The Balaturim says she beat him with a stick from the tree until he finally ate it. But he didn't last. He was married, right? Less than 1 hour later, he already ate from the Eitz Hadas. Huh? I can't hear that. Yeah, right after. They went out of the chuppah and right away. Right? She wanted to feed him. And there you go. Right? Be careful what you eat. Anyway, right? What happened? Hashem said to him, right? Arura ha'adoma ba'vurecha b'tzova t'chalena. You're going to have to work hard your whole life. Everything we have to do now just to get a quarter pounder, all that work, it's a few hours work till you can get a piece of meat. Hashem created milk. You want a glass of milk? Yeah? Right? My grandmother told me she used to do this. Right? She went to the cow, she squeezed the udder, and she had a glass of milk. She used to do that. This was in Boston. She didn't learn it in Europe, but she did it in Boston. Anyway, the kids are, what we're dealing with, two opposites. Basar and cholov. Right? Basar is everything you have to work for. Cholov, the things that come to you right away. You don't have to sweat for it. You ever see things that came to you all of a sudden? Hashkacha, you call it, right? Yeah, everything is hashkacha, but this is hashkacha that comes to you right away. If you want a glass of milk, if you want to accept that what Hashem brings you, it's like a glass of milk, right? Take it, drink it, it's fine, no problem. But you're in this world and you have to work hard. You have to work hard. You got to get that quarter pounder. You got to do a lot of work, sweat, right? Blood, sweat, and tears, they call it, right? You got to do all that in order to get the meat. If you want meat, get it. Work for it. You got it, right? But what if you want the two together? That's completely forbidden. Why, says Reb Nosson? Because what Hashem is going to do for you in His hashkacha, the way He wants it to come out in your life, you don't have any control over it whatsoever. It's not yours, right? It comes to you from Hashem. There are things that you're going to have to work for. You're going to get married, you're going to have a family, whatever the case might be. You're going to have to work and sweat for it, right? You can't say, let Hashem take care of that for me too. That's not your business. Your avodah in this world is you have to do what you have to do. Asher bara Elokim la'asos. Hashem created things for us to do. We have to do in this world. So if you want to live your life the way you want to, become an Elach Yid, you can't mix meat and milk. You have to learn how to do whatever it is that you have to do. It's learning, it's davening, making a sukkah, lighting Chanukah licht, keep Shabbos. You have to do what you have to do. You have to go out and work for Parnasa, go out and work for Parnasa, whatever it may be. Hashem is already going to take care of the things that you need. He will provide for you. And we'll go off topic for a minute, and we'll illustrate it with a different teaching of Reb Nosson. Reb Nosson says the manna came down from heaven, came down every day. Why? The Gemara says Hashem wanted the Jews to look upward to heaven every day for their parnasa. So you had food for the day, right? You got up in the morning, you stuck your hand out, or if you weren't such a nice guy, you had to go out to the field to collect it, but you got your manna for the day. But you wanted something for tomorrow, doesn't work. It's not there. It's not there. You have nothing for tomorrow. You leave it open for tomorrow, it's spoiled actually, right? You don't have it. So Nosson says, right, think about it. Think about how people worry about parnasa, right? I have a mortgage on the 1st, I have the electric bill on the 10th, I have this bill, and I have the taxes, and I have withholding, and I have who knows what. We're all worried, right? I've heard people 30 years saying, I don't know where I'm going to get money for my mortgage payment this month, right? And they've been saying it for 30 years. And they've been paying it for 30 years. You've been paying it. Someone has taken care of your mortgage payment for 30 years. But I don't know where I'm going to have money for the mortgage this month. I don't know where it's going to come from. So Reb Nosson says, learn to live for the day. We heard this before, right? Learn to live for the day. If you could control yourself, that I am living for today, today is what counts. Today I have what I need. Tomorrow is a different story. So you're eating money. That's what Reb Nosson teaches us. If you could live for today, you're eating money. Tell a quick story what happened with us. We engaged my eldest daughter. And okay, we had a certain amount of money. My wife and I come home from the court, and she says to me, how are we ever going to meet this money? I said, I don't know. She says, how are we going to do it? I says, I don't know. I don't care. It's not my business. Hashem has to provide, right? And since he has to provide, he'll provide in the right time. We get a call a week or two later, we need $8,000 to put down a deposit on a home, whatever. That's our share. Okay. Let's say it was a Tuesday night that I had to pay the money. It's now Wednesday, the week before. What are we going to do? Where are you going to get the money? I said, I don't know. Well, what do we have to pay? I said, yeah, but it's not Tuesday yet. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Okay. Comes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos, Moshe Shabbos. Okay, you got Tuesday. You have to pay. Where are you going to get it? I have no idea. I don't know. It'll come in the right time. Sunday, Monday, right? She's on my tail. This is my wife. She can hit me with a stick, but she's on my tail. What do I do? I said, I don't know. Monday night, I got a call from a friend. I was due to leave for the States a couple of days later. And my friend says, listen, I have to pay $8,000 to a certain person in New York. Would you bring the money to him? I said, sure. So I ended up with $8,000 in my pocket. I paid whatever I had to pay. I went to the States, I raised the money, and I paid the guy what I had to pay. But it came the night before I had to pay the money. And there's this, we made a second shidduch for my son. And at the end of the shidduch, the end of the word, the Muchatenister says to my wife, he says, Gewalt, I just committed to, where am I going to get the money? My wife tells her, don't worry. The day you need it, it will come. Right? This happened to me. I'm thankful to Hashem that I can say it to others. Let you know that Hashem really comes through. Hashem comes through. I'm 42 years in the fundraising business. Baruch Hashem, I started off negative. I never had a penny. And Baruch Hashem, we're still here. Don't ask me how, but we're still here. The bills have always been paid. Of course, if anyone wants to help out tonight, you can. Okay. Anyway, the kids, so let's get back to our Indian. There's basar, meat, you have to work hard for. There's cholov, things that will come to you. Hashem will take care of whatever it is that you have to take care of. Now that's only if you lead a kosher life. That's only if you lead a kosher life, right? You don't have meat and meal together, so you believe that Hashem will take care of what He will take care of. You have to do what you have to do, everything is fine. What happens if the person sinned during his life? What happens if the person committed an avera, or a terrible avera, an avera gedolah that we heard? What if the person, right, really messed up his life completely? Is there any hope for him? Could he ever come back to Hashem? One of the things that comes out from living things, if it's a kosher sauce, everything is kosher. If the sauce is not kosher, it's absolutely treif. If I lived a treif life till now, could I ever come back to Hashem? Nosson teaches us that there is such a thing. It's a delicacy. It's one of the sweetest and most healthy things in life. It's called honey. Bee honey. Right? Now, is there anyone here that would ever go into a restaurant and ask for bee soup? But that's what honey is, right? It comes out from the bee. Not only is it kosher, but it's one of the greatest delicacies that are found on this planet. Nosson says, maybe you lived a treif life till now, but you should know that Hashem can take anything treif and turn it into one of the sweetest and most wonderful things that you can have in life. Proof positive, think about yourself. I woke up, or I was born, mega lottery, whatever it is, I grew up, I did whatever I had to do, or I did what I did when I didn't have to do, and I lived and I messed up my life. I'm 30, 40, 50, 60 years old. Is there any hope for me? Well, understand that whatever it is that you did till now is now contributing for you to be able to do tshuva at this point in your life too. Right? Not only that, if you didn't do what you did, you may not have ever gotten to the point of doing tshuva. And that's the power of honey. That's the power of Dora Hayotze Minachai, of honey, something that comes out of a bee. This is a piece that Reb Nosson speaks about in the Likutei Halachos. It's amazing. You've heard all the Mishnah. Im ein ani li mili, uchshani la'atzmi mo ani. Hilula said it. V'im lo yachshov ein mosai. What's the connection? If I'm not for me, who is for me? Well, that's the milk. That's the boss. That's the milk that Hashem gives. Uchshani la'atzmi mo ani. Look at all the effort, time that I have to put into myself. Right? So, what's with my life? What have I accomplished? And the answer of Nosson says is, I have only now. It's a Mishnah in Erchim, Masechta Erchim. Ein lehektish ela mekoimoi v'shaitor. When it comes to hektish, you have to redeem it, you have to pay. Whatever the going price is at that time. Don't tell me in a year it's going to go up the price. Don't need it. You're selling it now. Now is when it counts. Now is the price that I take. Ein lehektish ela mekoimoi v'shaitor. That means that whatever I'm at now, whatever mitzvah I can do, whatever avodas Hashem I can take, and I can put into myself to do a mitzvah, to learn a piece of Gemara, Chumash Rashi, whatever it may be, right? Now is the moment. I'm alive now. I take advantage now. I can take my whole life, everything I did till now, and I can make it the sweetest, most powerful, and most powerful condiment in my life. These are just a couple of things, very few, but just a taste of what Reb Nosson did for us. Reb Nosson, they asked him, how could he write so much? The Shach was 42 years old when he passed away. Anyone know how much the Shach wrote? Yeridea, Mishput, other Svarim, and he lived during the Zeros of Tach and Tat, when the Magnitsky massacres took place. The Shach was very busy, and he wrote a tremendous amount. And the Welt says that how he did it, he had what's called Hashkoas HaKumas. He used to take an oath for the pen to write. And the pen would just write, and he was able to write tremendous amounts. Reb Nosson, they asked him how were you able to write so much. He said, well, I guarded my time. I was careful with my time. Right? If you ever watched him daven, did nothing else. He learned, nothing else. Spoke to people, nothing else. Right? Whatever he did, you thought he did this full time. Reb Nosson guarded his time very carefully. Why? Life was very important. As we heard before, the power of life, right? There's a bumper sticker in Israel, right? It says, "Come to Baboker. Did you get up in the morning? Yeah?" It says, the next line is, Hashar bonus. Everything else is a bonus, right? You got up in the morning, good, Baruch Hashem, finished. Thank Hashem for that. You got that? Because everything else you get during the day is a bonus, right? It comes from Hashem, it's Hashkacha and everything. Okay, so Reb Nosson guarded his time, and that's why he was able to be Reb Nosson. When he passed away, one of his students, Rebbeinu Leib Lecha, said about him, that's how a religious Jew is supposed to live, right? Well, frankly, what I know about Reb Nosson, I doubt very much that many people, or even a few people, ever get to that level, right? There are Baruch Hashem, we have tzaddikim in every generation, we have Rosh Yeshivas, we have Mashgichim, we have Erlich Halayit who are not on that level. They're very Erlich, they're very careful, they learn, they daven, but Reb Nosson was very special. The things that went through my mind when I was reading the book, how did the man ever do this? He had a 4-year period, 4.5-year period, when the other Hasidim wanted to bury him. They slandered him to the Ukrainians. They wanted to send him and exile him to Siberia. And they threw rocks at him. They stoned him, stoned his family. And Reb Nosson didn't look at it. Came Erev Pesach. In those days, if an army went through a town, they would billet the soldiers in different homes. So they took Reb Nosson's home and snagged him to Reb Nosson. So that's a house where you can put a lot of soldiers in. So they put him in, but it was Erev Pesach. And they're eating chametz a few days before Pesach. There's nothing you can do, right? The army put the people there, right? Well, Baruch Hashem, Hashem made another miracle, and they took the soldiers out the day before Pesach, before B'dikas Chametz. Okay, Reb Nosson did B'dikas Chametz. The next night they sat by the Seder, and his family was very, very bitter over the experience of having to have these goyim sit in his house the night of Pesach, just before Pesach, and stopping them from cleaning chametz and whatnot. And Reb Nosson says, Givald, Givald, Givald. These people are our brothers. We're going to have to work find a tikkun for them. Would you do that? Would you take enemies like that and say, we're going to have to work to help them out? That was Reb Nosson. That's the Reb Nosson that left us over a legacy of Rebbe Nachman. He also wrote, we have it in English in 7 volumes, we call it the 50th Gate. It's the Likutei Tfilos, right? Likutei Tfilos is Tfilos, prayers that Reb Nosson wrote on Likutei Moran. Takes a lesson of Likutei Moran and he writes a prayer how to fulfill that Torah, that limit. In history, Jewish history, we know that Chumash has 5 svarim. Chumash, 5, right? David HaMelech wrote Tehillim. There are 5 books of Tehillim, right? But that's the only book that we had till recent history that was a prayer book on the Torah. Reb Nosson took Likutei Moran and made a prayer book out of it. And such moving prayers that you say a few words. How did Reb Nosson know that this is what I need at this moment? Say the prayers. Say a page or 2. You'll be amazed at what Reb Nosson did with the tefillah, the Ruach HaKodesh that's in there, that covers me, right? Covers me. A student, a Talmud in Yeshivas tells, there was a Rav Stern, who was mashgiach there. So he tells me that Rav Stern ran away to Tashkent during the war. And the only sefer he had was the Likutei Tfilos. Rav Stern, a Litvak, right? From Telz Yeshiva. And he says, I never understood how Reb Nosson would write everything that I needed during those weeks, during those months, during those years. Reb Nosson addressed it and took care of everything. This, the Kitzur, is what Breslov is all about. It's for you, to teach you that you can. You can. The little train, right, Thomas? I can, right? I can. I can. That's what it's all about. And Reb Nosson tells you that you can, right? Rabbi Nachman in the Likutei Moran writes of attaining the highest levels possible. Reb Nosson in the Likutei Halachos writes how not to fall down from whatever level you think you've fallen to. You can still go up and you can still attain those levels that Rabbi Nachman speaks about. So, I don't want to keep you here all night. I could, if, why not? Because I have to go to sleep too. All right? I'm 75. I'm not your age. I'm not a young spry chicken anymore. Whatever. But understand that Breslov Chasidus that we have today is all due to Reb Nosson. Reb Nosson took Rabbi Nachman's teachings, brought it down to earth so that each and every one of us could partake of it. Right? We are in the process now of translating the Likutei Halachos. We came out with 1 volume. I believe there's an example here, a sample here. Right? We're in the process of treating 8 volumes. It's a monumental project, probably a $10 million project, if not more. And Baruch Hashem, we started. Anyone who wants to start picking up the Likutei Halachos, you're welcome. We'll be very thankful. We have a team of people who will work on it. At the moment though, we have flyers at the back of the tent, right? Flyers here. What it is, huh? It's a what?
Base medrash.
Ah, base medrash, excuse me, I'm sorry. Right? In the back of the base medrash, you have this flyer, right? We have at present, we have over 80 books in English that we've produced from the Rebbe and Reb Nosson. You have a set Likutim Moran, you have Likutim Tfilis, you have other svarim. And we have books, almost everything that's in English is in Spanish. We have books in Russian, we have books in French, and we have books even in Russian and Hebrew, modern Hebrew, to get the people in Eretz Israel involved too. Right? We have now some 30 books that need to be reprinted. What we're looking for is 148 Sorei HaElef, they're called. The leaders, the masters of 1,000. We're looking for people who are willing to donate $1,000. You could pay it out in 10 monthly payments, $100 a month, $1,000. It will entitle you to a present of all the books that are pictured on the flyer, right? It works out to be some $800 worth of gift that you will get for free. And it also includes that you'll be able to make a dedication in one of the books that we have to reprint. So we ask you please to think of Reb Nosson. Reb Nosson printed all of Rabbi Nachman's works at that time. He suffered a lot. He had a printing press in his own house, which was later on caught. It was illegal, and it was caught by the government. And he was in terrible shape, terrible trouble for quite a while. Baruch Hashem, he got out of it. He went and printed elsewhere. We're asking you to join Reb Nosson and help print Rabbi Nachman's books. If you can, $100 a month, right? It sounds like a lot, but it's not, right? It is to the one who has to pay it, but it's not that much when you think about it. How much money do you spend on frivolities, right? So $100 a month for the next 10 months, and you can have a portion in getting Rabbi Nachman's teachings out into the world. May Hashem help that the schus of Reb Nosson stands over us, all of us. It teaches us how to live, how to be alive, how to feel every mitzvah that we do, every even mundane act that we do. We should feel it and come close to Hashem for everything that we attach until we see the coming of Mashiach and the building of Beis HaMikdash, Be'edah, B'Yameinu, Amen.
Shkoyach, thank you so much for that beautiful speech. Hashem should bless you with continued strength to continue doing what you're doing and inspiring us all. I'm very inspired to be in the honey.
Good night, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it.
Shira Malos, no? Like, my machainim, over here, my machainim.
If the battery touches the metal wire, the battery will catch on fire. The point is that if you take those sticks and connect them with the metal wire, the pickle itself will glow. You don't need a metal battery. You don't need a metal battery. Come on. Listen to me for a second. Look at the phone. Look at the phone.
She brought up the story with Nosson.
Can I listen to me?
Mark, did you get on that food report? She got 100. One out of how many girls?
99999.
Got 100 writing on the bus. It's probably like the hardest report of
Red bench.
my daughter has it.
The boys have the villain benches. Each time of the night, my brother, the Atma, the Shis, Runan, the boys had the work of a Heimish, a Hamel,
She really wanted to meet you. And she wants to know if she can have the honor to autograph. What a new book, special thing that should be able to autograph her. It's all part of the game. I'll give you life.
Using that as an excuse.
The handy video ends and you're in the park, man. Not that's going to
Oh, yeah.